While Andrea is doing that, let me say welcome to the Madison Rivertown Review, and this is our community Zoom meeting. We're so glad that all of you have joined us this afternoon. My team and I are excited to have a robust conversation, and we've got an agenda put together, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But my name is Jack Sutton, and I'm a volunteer for the Ohio River Recreation Trail. And for the last 2.5 years or so, we've been exploring ways to highlight the Ohio River, its natural assets, and its opportunities for outdoor recreation. So we'll get into the meat of that in just a few minutes, but I want to immediately introduce sort of our point of contact with Madison, who reached out to us and asked for this review process, and that's Austin Sims. So I'd like to ask Austin to introduce herself, a little bit about herself, and then there's a question I'm going to ask each of you from Madison, and that's what you like most about Madison. Austin?
Thank you, Jack. And again, thank you everyone else from the ORR team and your volunteers. Austin Sims, Madison Main Street Program Executive Director. I'll be here for 2 years officially, February 3rd, so very soon. I still don't know what a normal year looks like. I'm convinced there's no normal years once you get past the age of like 21, I think. I really don't know. I personally am a very active resident in the area. I went to IU. I raced in Little 500 and fell in love with road biking and cycling. And once I moved back here, I really got involved in our local area bike club. Met a lot of really wonderful people in that club that connected me to people in the community I'd never even heard of. Biking, running, swimming, canoeing, paddling, anything and everything. These people were dragging me all over the place and showing me all these great new adventures here locally. Once I got involved with that club, that turned into, you should volunteer for Madison Main Street, or get to know some of those people. And that turned into, you should be the executive director of the Main Street program. So it was a really wonderful connection. I am constantly asked for recreation and ideas for visitors and people to do. We have a lot of people, customers, shoppers that come from Clifty Park and who are brought here for events along the riverfront that come to shop with our businesses within our Main Street district. So that's why I'm here, to utilize this information and to use it more towards our business development. My favorite thing about Madison, gosh, I personally I love that I can be really close to my family at a moment's notice. I wouldn't say I'm a homebody, but when you really need someone or want to be close to family, majority of my family is here, and it's all close enough where I can see them within 5 minutes, or I don't have to see them for a week. It's big enough where you can do a little bit of both. So I just love being close to friends and family. Those are my favorite things.
Thank you, Austin. Let me tell everyone just a little bit more about myself. Again, the name is Jack Sutton. I'm going to kind of be your host this afternoon. I reside in Aurora, Indiana. So Aurora is just about 45 minutes upstream from Madison on the Ohio River. I've been volunteering with the Ohio River Recreation Trail for over 2 years. I've also been volunteering for a couple of land trusts, including the Oak Heritage Conservancy. And I see Kate Johnson has joined us this afternoon. So hi, Kate. Kind of prior to my full-time volunteer role, I was formerly in the world of conservation, parks, and recreation, where I served for over 30 years at the agency called Great Parks of Hamilton County. And I was retired there in 2019 as their chief executive officer. So I've been involved with a lot of things outdoors all my life, and really been enjoying the last couple of years to kind of drill down on some of the things we have here in the Ohio River Valley that are so special to us. So with that, I'm going to try to go around the room, the Zoom room, and I'll start with the folks from Madison to, if you would just take 30 seconds or so, tell us who you are, what you do, and what your favorite thing is about Madison, or maybe where you tell a friend to go when they come to town. So Jess Spies.
Okay, so my name is Jessica Spies. I am the Director of Programs at Historic Madison. I'm from Northwest Indiana, so I started this job about 6 months ago, and I moved here to be in Madison because I like it a lot. And it's primarily the history and architecture. I love walking down the street every day and seeing just amazing, spectacular architecture that you can't find anywhere else. And to have 133 blocks of it is kind of a big deal. So when people come visit, I always tell them to come see us at Historic Madison for tours and programs, but also to visit Main Street and enjoy all that downtown has to offer, including the river.
Awesome. Thank you. How about Greg Schneider?
Hey, everyone. My name is Greg Schneider. I work at Ivy Tech for the past 6 months. Prior to that time, I spent 30 years as a high school agriculture teacher, 24 years in Jefferson County, and the past 6 up in Decatur County. During my time teaching agriculture, the river was an integral part of what we discussed in the classroom in teaching natural resource management. Outside the classroom, outside Ivy Tech, I also kayak, hike, so I'm an avid outdoors person. Thing I love most about Madison is being able to explore it. You know, having taught in another school district, Madison wasn't in my school district, so it was kind of always over there. So now working at Ivy Tech, you know, the Madison's within our service area. I'm excited about being able to learn more about the town and embrace the town. Whenever we have folks come in from out of town, they always talk about how much they love the river, and they say, you must go down there all the time. And I have to say, oh, not as much as we really should. So I'm looking forward to making the river more accessible. And that's one of the reasons why the ORT kind of excited me and I saw opportunities.
Great. Thanks for being here, Greg. Appreciate it. Sarah Praisel?
Hi there. Thanks for everybody being here today. It's exciting that this has come to fruition and that we're here today. So it's a happy New Year present, I guess. I'm originally from Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area, and I just celebrated my 5-year anniversary with Visit Madison yesterday. So it's been a long, very exciting 5 years, but we're always busy and there's always something to do. But I'm the executive marketing director here, and I love my job. There's so much, there's so much to do and see and talk about. And I have a really great product to market. And we're hoping that by the end of the call that Francis is going to move here officially. But, you know, we're here at the Visitor Center and we see all walks of life come through here. And to say, you know, what we tell people, where to go and what to do is just all over the place. But what I like most about Madison, I have to say, is really truly the people. And I'm merely associated with all the different organizations, and they're the colleagues and friends that I've met through just having this job because I'm not from here. And really at the base of all of that is just their passion. And I can attribute that specifically to Miss Austin and how she's taking this initiative and just ran with it. And then Greg, I know you had reached out too. And so I'm just really proud of you guys and whatever this means. And I think there's a really great foundation for the trail. And I'm excited and proud of just even the steering committee members for all that you have done. And so anyway, excitement all over here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I see we have Bob Canada. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly, Bob? You may be on mute. Not sure.
Yes, Bob Canada.
Bob, thanks for joining us. Can you just tell us who you are, what you do?
So did you hear me?
We just started hearing you.
Can you hear me?
I do now.
Okay.
Yes.
I've just lived in Madison for a long time. I love the river. We ride bikes a lot. That was one of my main connections with Austin, and she's kind of left us behind on that. But we love the recreational aspects of the river. And so I'm kind of participant and involved with that, and would love to see that developed more.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bob. Next, I see Hannah Schaefer. Is Hannah with us?
Yes, I'm here.
There you are.
Hi, so I'm Hannah Schaefer. I'm with Visit Madison. I'm the marketing specialist here. And to kind of echo Sarah's sentiment, you know, we really do have an easy product to market. Madison is such a diverse community. There are so many things to do here: music, history, festivals. You know, we like to say we're not just historic, we're fun. And that's the thing that I love most about Madison. I've lived here my whole life. My family's here, so kind of similar to Austin. There's just so many things to love about Madison, so it's hard to choose one, but I'm really excited to be part of here and be part of this conversation.
Great, thank you so much. Kate Johnson. Kate, can you say hello?
Hi, I'm Kate Johnson. I'm a member of the board of Oak Heritage Conservancy, a small conservancy, small but growing conservancy group, protects acres in 11 counties in southeast Indiana. I live out in the county, out off 256, and I got to tell you, I love Madison, the town. It's fun to go to, but as much as I love Madison, I love the countryside around Madison. I don't think it gets a fair shake for how incredibly beautiful it is.
Thank you, Kate. Chad Eisen.
Hey, so I'm Chad Eisen. I'm the program coordinator for the city of Madison. So I kind of coordinate and organize all of our programs from, youth sports all the way to our senior dances for our, senior citizens. So that's really my community involvement. I grew up here. I graduated from Ball State in 2020. And then I moved back here. I was a teacher at the junior high last year. And I coached 3 different sports. So that's kind of translated over into, what I've got on my plate now. I'd say one thing, or I guess a couple places that I always recommend people to go, always the Madison Regatta, or really any festival that we have down here. And then there's a really good restaurant on Main Street called the Red Pepperoni. That's one of my all-time favorite places to go. But yeah.
Great. Thank you, Chad. Carolyn Allen.
Carolyn, she was having some feedback issues, so she was.
I got it. I think I was on 2 at once. There we go. Hi, I'm Carolyn Alcorn. I sort of grew up here in Madison, left for a long time, and then came back again. And the things that intrigued me about Madison, especially in the time that I was gone, was the development of Clifty Park, and what a wonderful place that is to go, the Heritage Trail, and being able to be outside and explore outside, and then of course the river. So those are things I love to do. I've got a big yellow dog and she likes to go about everywhere with me, so she's usually invited.
Great, thank you, Carolyn. We have somebody, their icon says JW or JDWE.
Hello, everyone. JD Webster. I know most of you on the call. First and foremost, Chad, you're the younger version of me at Regatta, buddy. You're the younger version and the next one to carry the torch. So I fully endorse what Chad said about our Madison Regatta. I just happen to be the 56-year-old version of his mindset. But anyway, born and raised in Madison my whole life, moved away right after college, spent 30 plus years up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and moved back because I traveled. I had the privilege of traveling all over the country for work. And to tell you the truth, I never found anything that was close to this. A couple of towns I really liked, but I moved back. And what I like the most about Madison, obviously I sit on the Riverfront Development Board. I chair 2 fundraisers a year, raising money for our beautiful riverfront. So it is my passion, heart and soul, that's for sure, and why I moved back. Huge boater as well. But I like the fact that my better half says it best. Why do you wave at everybody? I said, because I know them. That's kind of neat. In other cities, you've been to many cities, you wave at people and they just look at you like you're an idiot. So that's number one. Number 2, I love the small town feel. I love you can, get most places in about 5 or 10 minutes. And number 3, obviously it's a river town and I'm a river rat. So there you go.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. And finally, James Olson.
Hi there, Jim here. I'm lived in Madison most of my adult life now, and I have been along as a bicyclist. I became quite interested in one of the founders of our interest trails. The thing that I like the most about Madison are the people. It's just a wonderful collection, and there's something about the atmosphere here that with the historic town, I would hope somebody can figure it out one of these days, but just what it is that makes the people of Madison such an interesting and nice group of folks.
Thank you so much. I think I've covered everybody from Madison. If you are from Madison and you didn't get introduced, maybe you can let me know immediately. Otherwise, I'd like to quickly go around the room and really within 10 seconds, each of the members of my team, give us your name and kind of who you represent. You may have a role later on, but just so everybody kind of knows everyone. So I'll introduce you. Andrea.
Hi, I'm Andrea Ireland. I'm with the National Park Service Rivers Trails Conservation Assistance Program, also known as RTCA, to save my cohorts from having to say all of that. And I am working with Russ Clark as the project managers for this Rivertown Review program.
Perfect. Russ, she just introduced you. Why don't you just wave?
Russ Clark, National Park Service RTCA program, stationed in Kentucky. Happy to see all of you, and I have really enjoyed working on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Manning, you're on mute, but can you say hello, Chris?
Good afternoon, Chris Manning. I'm a co-founder and landscape architect with Human Nature in Greater Cincinnati, and really looking forward to the dialogue today.
Thank you, Chris. Sarah DeLandro.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sarah DeLandro. I work with Chris Manning at Human Nature. I'm an environmental and community planner, and looking forward to today's discussion.
Thank you, Sarah. Francis.
Francis Manon. I'm with Ross Brown Todd's Project Finance Advisory Group, and I am sitting on two sides of the fence here with regards to my involvement with the Ohio River Recreation Trail, but also I work with Chris and Human Nature and Kolar Design on the planning and development project that's ongoing for the corridor at the moment too.
Thank you, Francis. Michael Schilling.
Michael Schilling with the National Park Service RTCA program based out of Atlanta. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mary Allen, member of our board. Mary, can you say hello? You're on mute, Mary.
Try it again. Okay. Hello. I'm a P&G retiree, long-term resident of New Richmond. I am on the board, and New Richmond is a small river town, and we participated in the Rivertown reviews.
Thank you, Mary. We have Larry Calhoun. Larry, you still here?
Yes, sir. Larry Calhoun. I'm the outdoor recreational planner from the National Park Service for the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail, and I'm based in Omaha, Nebraska.
Awesome. And John Olivier.
I'll try to see if you can hear me this time. John Olivier here, and I'm assisting Russ and Andrea on this great project.
Thank you, John. David Wicks.
David Wicks with in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm co-chair of the Ohio River Recreation Trail and a board member of the River City Paddle Sports here in Louisville, Kentucky.
And Brewster Rhodes.
So I'm Brewster Rhodes from Cincinnati. I'm also a co-chair of the Ohio River Recreation Trail, and also affiliated with an organization called Adventure Crew, which gets urban teens out into nature in the greater Cincinnati area. So wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Did I miss anyone? Because we've got a big group and this is really exciting.
It is. Maybe Mark Long.
Oh, yes. Mark, can you say hello? Thank you, Andrea.
Hi, Mark Long. I'm in Louisville, and I'm helping with grant writing and other words for the trail effort. Nice to see you all.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, Andrew, you want to go to our, maybe go into slide 2 at this point. I think we've covered a lot of ground here. This is really exciting to have so many people with us today. So we've done our welcome, and just wanted to lay out how we want to kind of get through the next couple of hours. So we've done our welcome. I'm going to spend some time on big picture. We're going to do a SWOT analysis. We'll do some brainstorming, talk about next steps, talk about things we've learned in sort of your secret shoppers. So we've got a lot we want to cover, and I don't want to rush anyone, but we also want to make sure we get everything covered. So a couple of housekeeping items. Number one, we would ask, if you haven't done so already, you can go to the chat, and in the chat, type in your name, your organization, and an email. That'll help us sort of capture who's all here. Want to make you aware we are recording this, so it'll help us as we gather notes and kind of put together the final report to have a documentation of that. So knowing that, I would suggest that you be on mute if you're not speaking. We would ask you to keep your video on so we can see that everyone's engaged. But if you go on mute, that'd be helpful. And I'll apologize in advance if you hear a dog barking in the background. That's my Ruby, and she sometimes gets excited when she sees squirrels out the back door. Let me tell you, let's see, anything else we want to cover on that? There we go. Let me tell you a little about the Ohio River Recreation Trail, kind of big picture. We are a volunteer-led organization. Really, David and Brewster are our founders, and several years ago, they literally took a canoe trip from Portsmouth, Ohio to Louisville, Kentucky. And they stopped along at the river towns on the way. They stopped in Madison, among other towns, and really started having a conversation. And it all revolved around two things: the beauty, the majesty of the Ohio River, and its ability to offer outdoor recreation and tourism opportunities. So every one of these little river towns is like a pearl on a necklace, and the Ohio River is that necklace. So David and Brew put together a team of volunteers, and we've engaged with the National Park Service about 2 years ago, started these Rivertown review projects, created a website, and that's what I want to do is invite you after the meeting is go to this website, OhioRiverRecreationTrail.org. Lots of information in there. A couple of things I really want to draw your attention to. One is the number of partners we have. I think we have over 75 or 80 partners on board, communities, organizations, like-minded groups who said, yes, we think what you're doing is important and we'd like to be a part of that. We've begun to list events going on in each river town up and down, and there's lots of ways to give Madison exposure by activating some of the tools in this website. The second really cool thing about this website is what we call the digital guide, and you can see the button circled there in red. And it was a project that we worked with the Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky Regional Council of Governments, their GIS experts, put together an interactive map, a tool to help individuals who either are planning a trip to go along the Ohio River, or when they're in an individual town, refer to this website and on your phone to get real-time information. So we've listed a lot of public facilities such as boat ramps, parks, public resources along the river. But what's really unique, and it's received a national award for this uniqueness, we've tied into the commercial barge traffic database. And you can see in this picture a pink line going up and down the river. That is what they call the sail line for the commercial barge traffic. That is where barges and commercial boats are entitled to go up and down. And when you drill down further, you can tie in with your GPS system on your phone and find out exactly where the closest barge may be. They update information every 15 minutes. So it's a really unique tool that tells you where live river traffic is occurring. It also points out potential hazard areas on the river, such as terminals, power plant sites, other industry that's in or along the river that as a pleasure boater or a paddle boater, you want to be aware of and kind of keep clear of. So I really, if you haven't seen this website, I strongly urge you to take some time, go to that website and check it out. It's just a lot of information available to you there. Again, our Ohio River Recreation Trail, again, it's a volunteer-led organization. We have a vision. Our vision is that the Ohio River is an accessible and welcoming recreation corridor with vibrant towns connected by land and water trails. And we've outlined a number of goals, but there's two I wanted to share with you that really have, I think, a lot of agency to Madison. And that is, one goal is for the Ohio River Recreation Trail to promote recreational use of the Ohio River corridor, i.e. paddling, boating, cycling, fishing. And two, to help Ohio River communities, i.e. Madison, help these communities boost their economic development and quality of life. There's lots going on up and down the river, and certainly Madison is a leader in terms of river towns of what's available going on. So we want to be there to help you kind of leverage those assets, leverage those resources. One of the resources and assets available to you, and also by way of our National Park Service, is the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Larry Calhoun. He's from Omaha, Nebraska. He's going to share a little information about what they do and how it has meaning to Madison, Indiana. Larry?
Thank you. The Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail is administered by the National Park Service. It is more than 4,900 miles long, traversing 16 states and many tribal lands along the historic route of the 1803 to 1806 Corps Discovery Expedition. The epic journey contributed significant scientific knowledge, and profound political and social, economic, cultural, and environmental changes to the people and landscapes of all of North America. The trail has over 6,600 miles of designated auto tour routes, which would run through Madison. They provide visitors access to historic routes with rich recreational, interpretive, and educational opportunities. The trail links contemporary, authentic communities and cultures, including tribes whose connections span through thousands of years, to historic, vibrant, and living landscapes. Whether traveling the entire length of the trail or just a short day trip to just a small segment of the trail, both can be rewarding. In 2019, the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail extended the trail an additional 1,200 miles along to include and add along the Ohio and the Mississippi rivers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Wood River, Illinois. Prior to that, it was only from St. Louis west to the Pacific. So that's what the National Historic Trail, Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail, as far as the Park Service goes. We also have added a travel experience. It's an additional web page that's run by the National Park Service, but it is separate from the Lewis and Clark National Trail webpage. The NPS and the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail are committed to telling the stories along the trail and believe in your power as a small business, attractions, and passionate community members across the whole of the trail. We love to hear your stories, your dreams, your passions for creativity. We're here to support you, to tell your story, and to work together from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to the Pacific Ocean, to include along the Ohio River. Lewis and Clark Travels and the NPS's primary goals with this are to encourage visitation from the traveling public to all the businesses and communities, attractions, and destinations along the Lewis and Clark Historic Trail. We are going to grow an online platform to help local businesses and communities, attractions, and destinations to have more visibility and economic sustainability. We utilize digital marketing efforts to share unique stories about the land, linking the past to the present. This program that's run by the National Park Service will always be completely free for all. Lewis and Clark Travel have an exciting plan for 2022 that you can be a part of if you'd like, to include the introduction of an engaging new mobile app that will allow visitors to interact with the trail like never before, new social media pages with fresh, engaging new content. We also have blog articles and features on other storytelling platforms. And we also have expert interviews. Any site or attraction that is part of your destination's cultural heritage, past or present, would be a perfect addition to our site. We encourage you to log in today to lewisandclark.travel to add your favorite sites and attractions and to help grow the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail along with your localities. And we invite all from Madison and the surrounding areas to work closely with us as a community partner. Your designation as a partner will allow for closer communication, working together to help promote sustainable visitation and economic development for the trail along the Ohio River. An example, the National Park Service will provide auto tour route signage for the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail to designate the route through your community. To learn more about the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail Sustainability Community Partnership Program, please join us and help us showcase your community of Madison. Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Andrea Ireland from the National Park Service.
Thank you, Larry. Yes, the National Park Service is playing a couple different roles here in this effort of the Ohio River Recreation Trail. And perhaps some of you were curious as to what the National Park Service would be doing here if it isn't with the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. Our program, the Rivers Trails Conservation Assistance Program, is a community outreach program that satisfies and carries out the mission of the National Park Service by extending the benefits of natural and cultural resources beyond the national parks that you know so well. We have an application process that we review projects that put in those applications, and we have a work plan that comes along with that if you are accepted as a community. About 2.5, 3 years ago, we started working with the ORRT to further develop the ORRT, and part of that project was to encourage the communities to be involved, and we produced this Rivertown review process, which includes everything from an application to be a river town, to be selected, to share information about your community, the desktop review that you'll hear a little bit more about, a visitor assessment. It's all part of that fresh eyes on your community, somebody else from the outside looking in and helping you to see the value of what you have, always in the name of increasing tourism, but also providing continuity for recreation, enhancing recreation, and connecting you to other communities along the Ohio River and your interaction with that Ohio River. You know, one of the things when we started this program, we really hoped that we would be in person. Well, COVID took care of that, but it also gave us an opportunity to provide you with some ideas of how to sustainably come out of COVID, utilizing the increase in recreation that we've all seen across the board during these difficult times. People still want to be outdoors, and recreational opportunities have definitely increased. So there is a chance for you to use that to your advantage, embrace your unique position on the Ohio River, and come out of it with a stronger community that embraces those opportunities. So we really appreciate the level of participation on today's meeting. Yes, there's a lot of us team members on here. In particular, we have from RTCA, we have Russ Clark, we have Michael Schilling, and I'm missing somebody, and myself, and we, and now John Olivier. We are very invested in this project. It has been a favorite of ours, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say about your community. And with that, oh, and if your community, if you like what you see here, or you have some ideas about how you would like some assistance to develop your outdoor recreation or that connection to the Ohio River, you can apply to the RTCA program. Our applications are due by March 1st. Just visit our website. And with that, I will hand it over to Russ Clark, who will talk more specifically about your community.
Thank you very much, Andrea, and welcome everyone. I'm Russ Clark, landscape architect with the National Park Service, and I want to talk about your town. And I want to get more information from you to tell me more about your town through a SWOT analysis. But to begin with, I always start with the orientation. How did this community relate to the greater geographic context? And so Madison sits upstream from Louisville by about 44 river miles and downstream from Cincinnati by 87 river miles. And as we zoom in a little closer, next slide, please, yes. As we zoom in a little closer, you have a dynamic riverfront area that has been enhanced in many ways to date. But what really struck me was the walkability of your riverfront to your central downtown historic district and Main Street program. And that walkability to the river is a real asset for water-related recreation enthusiasts. And I also looked at your community and I see, based on the geographic layout of the land and the topographic differences, you have a North Madison upper level with more of a highway commercial, a lot of residential area, and you have the great Cliffy Falls State Park as an anchor to both of these regional draws. And that is a huge asset to have within your community and linked to your community. Next slide. As I look at the communities in detail, I start out by looking at your master plans. And you have a comprehensive plan, a very well done document. I was excited to see a parks master plan as part of that long range vision. And I was most excited to see that you have an active transportation plan or a bike ped master plan. All three of these documents really identify a great path for the future for your community with a number of different linkage recommendations, both internally to the community and externally outward from the community. And I applaud you for all of your planning efforts to get to that point and encourage you to continue to follow the recommendations of those plans. Next slide. As we zoomed in even a little closer, you have great riverfront access sites and with a marina. And one of the things you also have that's very unique is you have transient docking capabilities. Many of our river towns don't have that already, and it's been one of our recommendations all along. Transient docking is very important to the motorboating community. And so as you continue to move forward with your planning process, look at the water trail opportunities that you have. You know, we use a guideline of 6 to 10 river miles as a guideline for a day trip. And upstream and downstream, you have access sites to your community that already meet that criteria. So water trail capability for paddling is there at this point. It's just a matter of promoting it in the right way. So next slide. Next, we'd like to engage you folks, and we need your help with this. We want to do a SWOT analysis. We want to spend time exploring the strengths of the community and the opportunities. We want to look at the weaknesses and the threats. The strengths and weaknesses are typically internal origin, and opportunities and threats we'll look at as external origin. And we're going to do this through an interactive process. And I'm going to turn it over to Michael to lead us through the learning process and how to use the Miro software. Michael?
Thank you, Russ. Yeah, so I'm Michael Schilling. I'm a community planner with RTCA, and today I'm sharing with you all our mural program, which is a powerful program that lets us do what we would be doing in person online with sticky notes. So let me go ahead and share this link in chat, and what we're going to do is click that link, and that'll open up your web browser into the mural page. I'd like to ask, is there anyone on a phone that
I don't think so.
Good. Okay.
So again, if you recall where the chat is, it could be at the bottom or the top, and just go into that chat. And there's a link there. It's going to take you outside of this as a platform for us to use.
We'll just give it a second for everyone to come on in.
You want to tell them how they should sign in as if they want to be?
Yes, so if you'd like to be anonymous, you can first sign in with not putting your name in, or you can put your name in if you like, that's okay. I'm gonna hide everyone's cursors anyways.
Hey, Michael, this is Jack. I wonder if we could just ask if anyone's having any challenges or doesn't understand anything, go off mute and just let's raise your hand or ask. Want to make sure everybody understands what we're trying to do.
Are you all seeing the screen for Mural? Were you able to get in and you see Madison, Indiana with strengths? I'm seeing lots of nodding heads. Anybody not is the key. I can't tell with the people who aren't on camera, so if you're having any problems, let us know.
So I'm on an iPad, so I had to send it to my computer, but I'm going. It's just gonna take a minute. I can't.
I'm not.
I can't do more than one thing on the
I
iPad.
also
at the
see
same
that.
time.
I also don't see that I signed in.
Are you on a computer, Bob?
Bob, are you on a laptop?
Am I signed in? And I'm Bob Canada. Yes, I am. Now I see Andrea, and then I see the inset on Mural, but it hasn't changed. I haven't changed from that. So, laptop, yes.
Did it open up a web browser?
Am I signed in to chat?
Oh, if you click the link, it should open up your web browser.
Okay, now I'm not hearing you.
Bob, I think if you hit the chat button at the bottom,
Web browser.
and then it should open the chat over to usually your right side.
Which link?
It should just be the very last one. There's a link.
There's a link that says SWAT Mural.
Just repost
I have the chat to my right, but I don't see me listed.
May need to scroll down to the bottom.
Okay, the SWAT Mural link.
There you go.
I see. Okay, I got it.
Okay, so while Bob's coming in, to navigate Mural, I'll just briefly go over that. You can simply hold down.
Now I have welcome to the Mural, SWOT Analysis, visiting crab.
Yes, yep, you can just go ahead and hit enter as a visitor, Bob.
Don't worry, I'm a shark.
So you'll be assigned a random animal, and you can just hold down your mouse button and that will bring you around the mural. You can zoom in and out of the mural with your scroll wheel, and you can also use the plus minus.
Okay, I think I'm probably good now.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
Great, thank you. I appreciate the everyone helping Bob get caught up here. So as we look at this SWOT analysis, we're starting with strengths, and you can create the little square post-it note by double clicking and then typing in your thoughts under strengths. And some things to consider when we talk about strengths are things to build on, things your community does well.
Hold on one second, Russ. Let's
Sure,
make
go
sure
ahead.
that everybody knows how to create a Post-it note. You can either click over on the left-hand side, the little square, or you can double click within the square that you're working in. Michael's called you to this section. So just go ahead and double click, and then you can type whatever it is that you want to put in there that you see as strengths for Madison, but Russ is gonna give you some prompts to help you think about that. So
Sure.
everybody see how to make a Post-it? Okay, good.
Great, well, we have several populating already, but some additional things to think about are what are the unique resources of your community? What qualities separate you from other communities? What are some internal resources such as skilled and knowledgeable staff that you might have that others don't? What are some tangible assets in your community to consider as strengths? And then what do others see as your community's strengths? Those are just some general thoughts. Then again, things to build on, things that your community does well, unique resources, qualities that separate you from competitors, internal resources such as skilled and knowledgeable staff. What are the tangible assets in your community? All strengths. And as we continue to populate this area and add more Post-it notes, we will come around back to this and go through a polling process, and we're going to vote on 3 choices of all these different ideas that are being generated as to which ones you think are the higher priorities. So just going ahead, when we slow down on the Post-it notes, we'll go into a polling process. And we'll repeat this effort for all 3 or all 4 of the modules for the SWOT analysis. And this is module 1, strengths. Strengths of Madison. We've got some great ideas coming up here. The parks, the riverfront parks. Mentioned a couple different areas, the Main Street program, the walkway, historic buildings, Ivy Tech, community involvement. These are fantastic ideas. Keep adding them as they come to your mind. I'd like to get as many as we can. This helps us frame an opinion of your community based on your sharing your knowledge of the community. Unique resources, things to build on, tangible assets, what others might see as strengths for your community. We'll go another minute or so with strengths, and then we'll stop posting the notes, and then Michael will lead us through the discussion and process on how we will go through voting on our top 3 choices of all these different ideas.
Lots of good ideas coming in. You'll see that we're trying to group things a little bit so that you get an idea that people are thinking along the same lines, but also keeping things separate.
Yes, where we can, we will group the ideas together. Okay, it looks like we're slowing down quite a bit here. Any last thoughts to come in with another Post-it note? Okay, great. I think we're probably ready to go to polling, Michael.
Okay, so I'm going to start a voting session. You will have 3 votes. Please spread out your votes to 3 separate sticky notes, 3 separate ideas. To vote, you simply will click on a sticky note and you'll see a pink circle, not yet, but once I start the voting session, you'll see a pink circle, and that means you voted for that. If you accidentally click one and you want to take your vote back, you simply just right click on that sticky note and you'll get your vote back. So let me go ahead and set this up.
They can also scroll in if it's too small for them, correct?
That's correct.
my old eyes, some of these are a little hard to read, so.
All right, you can now vote. You can zoom in with the scroll wheel, or you can use the plus minus on the bottom right.
If anybody is unable to vote for some reason, you can put your vote in the chat and I will pick it up and vote for you. Only Michael can see if this is all working or not.
Looks to be working.
It's hard because there's a lot of good things here about your community.
Yes. Fantastic list of ideas for strengths.
Oh, wait, I clicked on something I didn't want to vote on. Is there a way to unvote?
You can go to that sticky that you want to remove your vote from and right click it, and it should give you your vote back. Just a few more folks still to vote, I believe.
Everybody got your votes in?
Just a couple more voting still.
All of our results will be presented in the report out that we do for your community. So they will all be counted. We're just trying to prioritize what the most people think is most valuable.
Okay. I will go ahead and end the voting session. And it'll bring up your voting results here. And you can scroll up and down to see all of the ones that were voted for. I'll go ahead and get screenshots of this.
So you can see is everybody seeing those results? Yep.
Large number of votes came in. Number of different topics.
Yes.
It's great. Great. So have you captured that, Michael?
Just about.
Well, great, folks, as he's getting ready to capture that, we will next be moving on to weaknesses and zooming in on that, again, of internal origin. And we will do the exact same process again. Post-it notes, as many ideas as you'd like, and then we will do a polling process.
Okay, let's move on to weaknesses.
You exit out of the voting by clicking on the X
in the upper right.
Can you verbalize how you sort of see the differences between weakness and threats? Just to sort of draw a bright line.
Yes, the differences between weakness and threats. Weakness is still an internal origin. Threats would be something external origin. And it may end up being the same thing in both. It's not one or the other. That help? So with weaknesses, things to consider as a community would be, what are some of the things we need to overcome? What could we do to improve? things your community lacks, that maybe you've seen somewhere else. Things that your competitors may do better than you do. Where you have perhaps fewer resources than others. Anything that others might see as your weakness. Internal origin, things to overcome, what could be improved.
Russell, I have a quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
Are you thinking as it relates to the riverfront and the river, or the community more in a general sense?
Both the community and the river, please. We're looking at the recreation side of things. We're looking at what can we do to enhance the tourism aspect. And to answer your question, I want to look at it from both perspectives.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great question. What do your competitors do better than you, perhaps, that you might have seen in other communities? Things to overcome. What you don't have that others do, that you've noticed. What could be improved? Where do you have fewer resources? Just ideas and things to consider under weaknesses, internal origin. Looks to me like you folks have got the hang of this software real well right now. A lot of different colors and a lot of different ideas.
Hey, Michael, do you have access to some of the ones that are locked?
Do you mean the ones that have an icon by them that
Yeah.
people are using currently? No, they're held hostage.
Things to overcome. What could we do to improve? Things the community might lack. What other communities do that we don't do. Where do you have fewer resources than others? And what are others likely to see as your community weaknesses? Great ideas coming up. Things to improve. Still getting some new ideas in. We'll go for a few more minutes. Please enter your last thoughts. One more minute and we will close out and begin the polling process and weaknesses.
I have to say we have such robust participation on here that it's really hard to sort things out because it's so rapid fire. I'm not sure we've ever had this many Post-it notes before, so it's great.
Yeah. Nice.
That is a great problem to have, Andrea.
It is.
That's Madison for you.
Thank you.
Think of the paper we're saving by not being there to do this in person.
That's great. It looks like we've slowed down, Michael.
Sounds good. Just like before, you'll have 3 votes spread across 3 different ideas. We will start the voting session now.
Again, if there's anybody who couldn't vote and wants to have your opinion known, you can put it in the chat and I'll cover that for you with my vote. The reason we start with this is because it gives you a really good opportunity to take a look at your own community. And in seeing weaknesses, you also see opportunities. So it's not all bad. Sometimes it's very, very good to identify multiple things that can be worked together as one opportunity.
That's very true. And we really do the SWOT analysis to kind of get you engaged with the software and putting some of your thoughts together, your knowledge, helping us to better understand your community. And this same process we'll use in a later session with brainstorming. And it'll probably be a whole lot easier to go forward with that, having done the SWOT analysis. And there's typically an overlap between the 2 processes.
How we doing, Michael?
Pretty good. Just a few more still to vote.
I'm not sure that all of our team is voting, so that might be some of the ones remaining.
Now there's about half. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit that aren't. But you know, I'm monitoring the ones that have voted. Looks like we're just wrapping up. Okay. Go ahead and end the voting session. Once again, you can scroll up and down to see the results.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Lots of similar thoughts going on here. Great. I'll let Michael do a capture of this. And just so you can be aware, all of the information that we are gathering through this process will be part of the final report in both the listing of all the ideas and the polling results will be in the final report. And from this come recommendations based on this input, this community visit, and desktop reviews.
All right, let's move on to opportunities. Again, you can hit the X in the top right to get to I believe it's a white X to get to the back to the mural.
Right? Opportunities of external origin come in from outside. What are some of the things to explore that maybe you haven't done already as a community? Are there any underserved markets should be explored? Are there emerging needs for your community? These are some thoughts that might help with opportunities. What trends could you take advantage of that you've seen or heard about? What don't you have that would make your community better? And how can you turn your strengths into opportunities? Things that might need to be explored. Underserved markets. Emerging needs for your community. Any upcoming trends that you could take advantage of. What don't you have that would make your community better? And how can you turn your strengths into opportunities? Yeah, I really appreciate all the input. By the time we get to the third or fourth round on this, you're all experts in using this software.
And they can do the next mural training for us.
That's right. Things to explore. Any underserved markets that you're aware of? Emerging needs. What trends could you take advantage of? What don't you have that would make your community better? How can you turn your strengths into opportunities? It's a great list coming up here. I'm really enjoying looking at all the possibilities. They're coming in fast and furious.
Sometimes you get a little bit inspired by what everybody else is saying. Oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, capitalize on another thought. Take it to the next level.
Can I ask what Indian Creek is? Is it a tributary? Nope.
Go a couple more minutes, try and get your last thoughts in. I know we're populating this page pretty full, which is great. This is a lot of different ideas to help set the future in place.
Okay, time to finish up your ideas here for opportunities.
Okay, I think we're ready to go forward with voting, Michael.
Just like before, you may begin voting.
By your silence, I'm going to believe that you are concentrating, that you already have the how to use the Post-it notes down pat, and that you're really just trying to make the best decisions with your 3 votes.
That's correct. All these ideas are good ideas. Your voting just help us categorize in a little more of a priority basis, but all of these ideas should be considered in the end.
And when we go to report out, we will combine some of the ones that are similar and put those votes together, because I know that there's some redundancy in the answers.
Right. Okay, are we getting close on the voting?
Just a few more. Okay. In the voting session. There's our results.
Great. We had lots to choose from. Hard to narrow it down.
I like the way that there's many votes for connecting communities. That's great.
That's very good. Well, again, Michael is capturing this information with snapshot so we can include it in our report and feedback to the community. All important part of the process that we're working with here. But start thinking about, as he's doing that, threats to your community of external origin.
I just posted in the chat. I see one of the top things is create Madison Outdoors section on visitors website. So in the Zoom chat, I'm going to direct you all to our outdoor recreation page. We recently revamped our website. So if y'all want to go take a second to check that out, maybe after the meeting, if you have any feedback, we welcome that, but that is out there.
That's great.
Check.
Right here. Thank you. All right. So with threats of external origin, what are some of the threats that you feel that your community is facing from the outside? What are some things that you need to minimize?
Again, exit out of your poll results.
Right. Yes. And that will bring you back into the threats quadrant on the SWOT analysis. You can then start posting ideas that you feel or thoughts that you have relative to threats from emerging competitors, things to minimize, what threats could harm your community, what threats do your weaknesses expose you to, and are there any changing regulatory issues coming up that are potential threats to your community? All things to consider as threats. Emerging competitors, what could harm your community? Any weaknesses also become threats. Some great ideas coming up. Just from experience, quite typically threats is not as a populated quadrant as the others, and that's okay. That's good news. But it is important to try and get all your thoughts down to what you feel are threats to your community. Again, things to minimize: emerging competitors, threats that could harm your community. What threats do your weaknesses expose you to? And then are there any changing regulatory issues to be considered? And I really appreciate everyone's time to put their ideas down for the SWOT analysis, to identify those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This helps us, again, get a better perspective on your community. I think it helps you folks focus in a little bit more on where you might want to tackle some things in the future, and provide a basis for the next session of brainstorming that we'll be doing. The SWOT analysis often is just a great warm-up exercise for doing a good brainstorming. We'll go a couple more minutes. You'll see 2 or 3 people still entering information. Looks like we're winding down. Well, I think we're probably ready to go to a vote. Michael?
Sounds good. Once again, 3 votes per person, 3 separate stickies. And you may begin voting.
Russ, I'm also really impressed with how quickly this community acted on the ideas that we're putting forth here. I mean, it just came up and Hannah already has a whole recreation page.
Right. Yep. I agree.
Way to be responsive, Hannah.
It's our specialty here at Visit Madison.
Well, over the past few minutes in the SWOT analysis here, you have all become very proficient with the Mural software and identifying your thoughts under the SWOT, and then going through a polling process to help prioritize those thoughts to help guide us for our recommendations for the future. When Michael's ready, we'll post the polling results for threats.
Just a couple more. Okay. We'll go ahead and end the voting session.
I think this is the first time we've had a single top vote. It's great.
Yeah.
While Michael is capturing this information, again, I want to thank you for your thoughts, for your input, and for your time to help help us understand your community a little better. And I hope this gives you a perspective to use in the brainstorming session on how to use, maybe using some fresh eyes to come up with some creative ideas for short-term and long-term thoughts for the future. So exit out of the polling results, and then we will bring up the exit out of Merrill and we'll go back up to the PowerPoint with Andrea. And I'm going to turn the presentation over to Jack to talk about the desktop review and visitors assessment summary. Jack?
Mute. You're on mute.
I beg your pardon. Well, I was saying, first of all, congratulations to everyone on that mural exercise. I don't think we've seen that good of participation and effectiveness. This is our 10th Rivertown review. Madison gets a A+ in my book. What I want to do, and I'm going to take just a little bit of time because we're going to turn it back over to Andrea to lead us in some brainstorming. But part of this process was twofold. It really was two sets of secret shopping exercises. And when you get the final report, you'll see all the individual comments. But we recruited volunteers, and there were, I think, 4 individuals that did an online review. We called it a desktop review. They basically took on the role that if I was going to come to Madison for a weekend or a visit, what would I do and what would I find there by searching websites and social media platforms? So I think it'll be very interesting when you look at those notes. You'll be able to see what people thought of the City of Madison's website. It's a governmental website, and it really its primary purpose is to serve local residents in navigating their city service needs. We looked at visitmadison.org. We looked at mainstreetmadison.com. We looked at Yelp. We looked at TripAdvisor. We looked at a variety of things and just took notes on what we found and sometimes what we didn't find. And again, that'll be very helpful to you. But I want to give a personal shout out to Sarah and Hannah. Your visitmadison.org site is phenomenal. And to me, it could be a model for other river towns up and down the river. What really especially stood out to me was the page on cycling opportunities. You have bike routes, basically options for cyclists to first of all review and understand before they even come to town, plan their trip around maybe a couple of cycling activities. That was outstanding. So kudos to you guys for that. But once again, when you get the final report, share that with those folks who are managing those social platforms, who are managing those websites. You'll get a lot of constructive criticism and a lot of kudos for what you've done. Second, what we did, and I'll let Andrea take us to the next set of slides, we did what was called a visitor assessment summary. So this was a matter of coming to Madison. We actually did this trip in January, so it's not the Chamber of Commerce photos you might expect with a lot of green leaves and sunshine and normal river levels. But we came down there in early January. Yes, the river was up, so we witnessed what happens to the Ohio River when we have a January flood event. But that's okay because we still got a good understanding of what's really cool and good about Madison as it relates to the Ohio River and outdoor recreation. So here, these images show a lot of your park assets along West Vaughn Drive. There's Bicentennial Amphitheater, the Riverfront Park, Lamplighter Park, Heritage Trail, Trailhead, the Lanier Mansion. All of those assets are walkable opportunities for visitors to Madison. Then we looked, what stuck out to us was some of the commercial or building assets along the river. So Chill Bill's ice cream shop. I'd love to come back down in the summer and check that out. You have a river restaurant. You have the Thunder River boating opportunity. I've not seen that in any other river town up and down the Ohio. The ability for a visitor to take a cruise on the Ohio River, and it looks like they offer different lengths of cruises. So that's Rockin' on the River Thunder, I think is the name of the group. Took note of the WPA pool house building at Crystal Beach. It looks like it's maybe being renovated or gutted. Hopefully that's being preserved. It's a historical asset. And then we did take note of just public facilities for the common visitor to use during the normal season. Your Main Street is outstanding, wide sidewalks, attractive signage. You offer public art for people to enjoy when they're in the area. And then finally, we take note of wayfinding. So if someone has not been to Madison, can they find their way around? Can they navigate themselves? And they might be a transient boater and getting off at the dock. What information is there to tell them about what's in downtown Madison? It is there. You see that vicinity map. You are here. The historical markers are quite unique, quite attractive, and very well done. So, you know, the visitor assessment, the desktop assessment, really, you'll see that in the report. Some of the suggestions coming out of the visitor assessment were to maybe emphasize what someone can do on the river when they come to Madison as opposed to adjacent to the river. In terms of bicycling, we didn't notice very many bike racks in downtown Madison. There is a bike lane on Main Street, striped such, but not much in the way of wayfinding signage that we saw. So additional bike racks are sort of a nonverbal communication that biking in Madison is welcome. You have wonderful parks, particularly on the riverfront, but like any infrastructure, those amenities such as signage and benches and other site furniture are going to wear out over time. So hopefully the city of Madison is looking at a long-term strategy and funding strategy for upgrades and replacements of those assets along the river. And then the last thing, you saw the photo of the Heritage Trail. That was very unique. When I researched about that, I'm wondering, and this may be a question for the brainstorming, are there any plans to make that ADA accessible? It looked like basically a railroad corridor, a gravel path. Much of that is level, and is that something that could be improved in the future, linking some of those accessible areas along the riverfront into a more natural area? So with that, I want to turn things back over to Andrea because she wants to lead us in a brainstorming session.
Thank you, Jack. Great shots of the community there. I would love to see it when it's activated, when it's not the middle of January, and all of the potential that is there being along the riverfront. I can just imagine with the festivals and the activities that you have going on, it's a very popular place. So using all of the information that we have gathered from, that you have presented and gathered from not only the SWOT analysis, but also what you heard, excuse me, from Jack about the desktop review and the community visit, we're going to brainstorm some ideas. Some of this will overlap with what we did during the SWOT analysis, but this is your opportunity to kind of put all of those pieces together and add in what you think would be really good ideas. All ideas are allowed to be on the table. This is wild ideas, maybe things that aren't achievable, but it might spur on some other ideas that are. These should be long-term and short-term. And we're really trying to incorporate into this, that sustainability that I was talking about, this idea of sort of restarting tourism and activities based on outdoor recreation and connecting communities along the riverfront as well. So again, we're going to use the mural software, which you all are experts at now. Michael's going to put in the new brainstorming link. You do need a new link to go to a different screen. And so while you're navigating there, I'll just say that this is community input that we're going to capture. We will report out on it. All ideas are good ideas. You're very much encouraged to build on other people's ideas. Someone might think of camping, and another person might think of camping for people on bikes going long distances. But all ideas are good ideas. I'm going to read through some prompts, and then and that may help to spur you on. I see some of you are already in there. Anybody having trouble navigating to the mural again? Everybody's concentrating. I feel like we should play like Jeopardy music or something here. Okay, so you can begin putting in your ideas. All ideas are good ideas. Again, think about some of the things that we talked about in the SWOT. How could you take some of those threats and weaknesses and turn them into opportunities and strengths? Big ideas, small ideas. You might think of it in terms of if you had a genie and you could ask him to solve a problem or give you everything you needed, what would you do with that then? What would you ask for? It doesn't hurt to think big. What ideas do you have to further engage your town with the river? What about ways to engage your town with this concept of the Ohio River Recreation Trail that's developing? And do you see other opportunities to engage with the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail? It's one of the longest, if not the longest, National Historic Trails in the National Park Service. And there you are, sitting right on it. Good opportunity to take advantage of. How are you laying claim to that? Do the people in your town even know that that is a resource that you are attached to? Think of things in terms of your residents, but also tourists. Think about people who are not only doing day trips, maybe from Cincinnati or Louisville, but also long distance trips, who are traveling across the country. They're going to the Lewis and Clark Travel Experience website. What are they going to find there about Madison? Or maybe, like me, they're using Roadside America and they really want to see the world's largest ball of twine. What do you have to share with them? What are some unique things that you could take advantage of? Michael is really trying to do a good job of sorting into short-term and long-term ideas, so we only have 2 things to vote on to prioritize. So if you see your post-it disappear, it went over to the side somewhere. What about connections upriver? Everything flows downstream. Are those people coming to your town? Are they going to stop? What do they see from the river that would make them want to stop and visit Madison? What about downriver? People are leaving your community and going downstream. What kind of things are they taking with them? What ideas and what are they saying about their visit to your town as they continue on downstream? And how about across the river? That was something that we haven't seen too much of. Often when we do planning with RTCA, you can't even see beyond your own county boundaries as to like where a trail might go. We like to think beyond boundaries, and boy, this project sure does that. Looks across county boundaries, state boundaries, and across that river that a lot of people don't ever think about. What's the closest way to connect across the river? Maybe there's an economic opportunity there. And what about historical connections? Who is it? Somebody on here is with historical Madison, I think it was. Everybody's too small on my screen.
I'm here. What were you asking, or?
Just to be thinking about those historical connections. What else can you utilize in your community to draw visitors in, to include in recreational, whether it's tours or I don't know, historical like building crawl that you go from building to building, maybe bike tours to architecturally interesting places. And programming ideas. I was a little sad that Chad had to get off because I think he has lots of good programming ideas. What could you do in your town, or what do you wish you could do in your town? You know, is there some kind of an event that you go somewhere else to do that you wish you could do in your own town? Short-term projects, long-term projects. And also think about how the Ohio River Recreation Trail can be beneficial to those efforts. Anybody have any questions? I see lots of things going on there. I think you're going to need a bigger poster board, Michael, for your.
Yes, so many ideas. I keep having to make them smaller.
Yes. So let's see. Is anybody else from the team on here that can put in the American Discovery Trail as a post-it note for Bob? Thank you. Also, Adventure Cycling's Underground Railroad Route. Those are all great additions, Bob.
Brewster and I met somebody from the 80 who was on the ADT this summer. Remember that, Brew? I think we were in Vivi at that point, but she was Australian and had figured out how to do this.
Wow. Okay. All right, I think that we will close the additions for right now so that we can do some polling on short-term ideas and long-term ideas. We'll give Michael just a chance to put these other post-it notes in somewhere. I don't know if they have to fall within that block or not, Michael, for them to be voted on.
They do not have to, so I'm going to expand out to the left here.
Okay.
Once.
And again, keep in mind, when we do the report out on this, we will combine some like answers, try to put things together of like minds where it's appropriate. And I see that Bob couldn't get into this mural, so we did capture your thoughts on that. Thanks, Bob. Whoa. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. So we'll do another voting session for the short-term ideas. There's a couple ideas left out there, but for some reason I can't access that. So I will go ahead and we'll just do short-term ideas and summon everyone. So we're just doing the ones in the short-term box and the few to the left there of it. And we'll have 3 votes again per person. Again, you'll just click on the sticky note. Please spread your votes out to 3 different ideas.
And is that 3 for short term and 3 for long term, or 3 for all of the sticky notes we see?
We'll just do 3 for the short-term ideas first, and then we'll do another round for the long-term.
So I didn't have a chance to read some of these because I was too busy prompting you. We all miss the bowling alley. Aww.
I think it had we had a tornado, and the wind from the tornado didn't go directly through Madison, but the wind, I think that's what the main thing was, basically ripped the roof off. And then we had torrential downpours for like a week. So then it was fine. Like they were able to, it was like a couple days, they were able to assess they could save the bowling alley. And then, but the rain is what did it. And it was like ruined what was left. So it was like it was very devastating.
Yes. Well, Russ is from one of the towns in Kentucky that was recently hit by tornadoes. So yeah, he's well aware of losing important resources. Some really good ideas on here. Some things that I haven't seen before.
Wide variety of ideas as well. It's great.
It would be hard to choose 3 to vote on, I think. I like that. Do the same thing with a group of 20-somethings. You think they would have different ideas?
I don't
know.
I'm a 20-something.
I threw that on there. I know we've got a couple on here, Austin, that fit in the age group. But if you took our average age, we're going to be a little bit above 20 today. I really think this exercise will be unbelievably cool to do with that age group because, again, forgive me for saying this, I'm 56 years old. You are cultivating me, but you're really not. You're cultivating the 20, 30, and 40-year-old groups. We're on the backside of this thing. It's going to make this town survive moving forward. It's not the majority of the people that are on this call today. So I really think if you did this exercise with them, I think the ideas are going to blow us away of what's important to them. And I would say that to any business and any eatery in Madison. You know, you need to find out what they're the ones with the disposable income. They're the ones with the ideas. They're the ones who are going to choose to live here or not live here for the rest of their lives. But anyway, that was just my thought when I put that on there. I thought it'd be really cool.
That's a great point. Thank you, JD. That's why we have someone like you on this call.
Another old guy, right?
How are we doing on voting, Michael?
Looks like just a couple more.
Okay, you want to finish up?
Hey, Austin, I'd be curious the next couple of weeks when you have interactions with your friends and people of your age group, ask them some of these questions and see what they say. I'd love to know what's important to them.
I get a lot of rooftop bars because everybody knows about the history and architecture of Madison. So a lot of people request for rooftop bars so that they can see the history and architecture from a different perspective. Pontoon boat rental and cruises.
Yes.
You know, the riverboat, the Rockin' on the Thunder boat is so much fun, but it's super fast and a lot of us can't afford to have our own boat, but being able to rent a pontoon to just do a loop for an evening, those two things are like very popular. I get a lot of, and then just more restaurants. Those are like the three top things people always tell me my age.
Yeah, go to Nashville, Tennessee, right? Every business has a rooftop bar.
I wanted to say something. I had seen on one of the short-term ideas about bringing Indiana like a fishing tournament here. We actually just booked the Indiana Bass Federation for the first time since 2012, I believe, and we got them to come for a spring tourney, and then they're coming back in the fall for their classic. So we're really excited to have them on the river, and they really expressed loving Jefferson County. I guess a lot of the anglers come here, and anyway, we have a few that qualify each year that live here in this county anyway. So we're really excited this year. It'll be in June and then at the end of October. So that's one thing to note.
See, there they go again, acting on things that we just suggested. Wow.
Yeah, and I saw, just to chime in as well, I saw that there were multiple votes for an architectural walking tour. We do those every year. Historic Madison runs them from May through October on Saturday mornings. And we have tons and tons of different other walking tour options at the visitor center that are unguided. But we're definitely looking into doing more guided things in the future if I can find people to do it. But we always have the third Saturday of the month, May through October, architectural walking tour.
And to piggyback on Jessica, a lot of those walking tours that we do have, there's so many of them. And that's one of our goals, is getting them all on our Pocket Sites app, which is a free app that is a worldwide app. And so the historic tour, or the churches, and we put even our events on there each year that are, tour driven. So exciting stuff. And then I also recently just wrote a support letter for the American Trails, the Discovery Trail. So it's all, I feel like we're involved in everything. It's nice to put it on paper too, and review and refresh.
That's great. Okay, so we've started the voting. I don't mean to cut you off. We're running a little bit short on time. We started the voting session for the long-term ideas. So go ahead and move into that, and we'll give you just a few minutes on long-term ideas. Because we're starting to lose a couple people, and there's a couple more things that we really would like to get to.
Hey, Andrea, just a suggestion. I know we've had such a robust conversation. I'm sure some of us will stay beyond 4 o'clock. We know some people have a hard stop because of other commitments, but if we're still going and you want to stay around, we'll be here.
We will. We're also trying to be respectful of your time and not go all night, because then that transitions into Rivertown Review happy hour, and that's not necessarily a good thing today. Lots of good long-term ideas, kind of thinking outside of the box and not being encumbered by funding, which is so often a problem. Some of these sound more like things that you would ask that genie for to make happen.
We'll go ahead and end the voting session.
Wow. Long term, all right.
That's great. Great ideas.
Just a little background. It might be because it was just coming up in the news, but we all picked Clifty Falls because it's in danger, the power plant. So that's why I would assume it came up.
Came out of the loop. My world is very small right now. What is going on with this?
They're gonna lose their funding for storing their bad stuff inappropriately, and they said if we can't store our bad stuff inappropriately, we will close. So,
oh well.
Yes. Cincinnati paper actually picked it up and wrote it because Ohio buys power from us.
Yeah.
And so they were writing about it. But yes, it came out yesterday, Sunday maybe.
Yep, absolutely.
I think there's more to that.
Yeah, I simplified. It's a lot of environmental policy decision making and political stuff all tied into one. But the initial response is, we will close. You do not give us that. So just a background.
I would add to that, this is happening up and down the Ohio River. So here in Aurora and Lawrenceburg, they just decommissioned a coal-fired power plant a couple of years ago. The stacks are down, all the buildings are removed, and the local port authority is trying to figure out the next best use for that land. There's a power plant upstream in Southwest Ohio that's going to be decommissioned in several years. So it's a phenomenon happening all over the country, but specifically here along the Ohio River.
And certainly right here in Louisville, right across the river in southern Indiana, the Gallagher plant just closed down June 1st, and New Albany is looking at incorporating that into their park system if possible. And so it is a large deal, and it would just be neat to connect Clifty Falls State Park with the river if it does close. But
shall I take over, Andrea?
Yes.
The next, great. Again,
Yeah,
I know
so you can exit out of the mural again and come back to the presentation.
I threw that article that Cleveland actually picked up on statewide legislation about our House Bill 6. Anyway, it's in the chat if people need to know about the power plant.
Great. Thank you. I want to introduce Chris Manning from Human Nature. So just a little backstory here. The Ohio River Recreation Trail has now become an actual project of the Ohio River Way. The Ohio River Way is a nonprofit organization. It's been around about 20 years. Its focus is Ohio River, and it's been mostly Cincinnati-centric with some special projects, but they have adopted the Ohio River Recreation Trail as a project. David and Brewster and others sought out some outside funding sources and received a grant. And with that, we've been able to hire a design and planning team that is now looking at our digital mapping assets, looking at marketing and branding strategies, as well as organizational development strategies. So I'm going to hand it over to Chris. Chris wants to just real briefly talk about what they're doing and some input we'd like to obtain in the months ahead. Chris?
Thank you, Jack. I'd just like to take a moment to compliment the National Park Service team for a great job. Had the pleasure of working with Andrea and Russ in the past on tri-state efforts, and just do a phenomenal job. And thank you all for a great presentation, and to Madison for a lot of wonderful input. We're really honored to be part of this effort. Human Nature is a landscape architecture and environmental planning firm, and we focus on parks and public open spaces and open space systems throughout the Midwest. We have a long history on the Ohio River, and Brewster in particular. Our partner on this project is Kolar Design. They'll be working on the branding and signage and marketing. I think Francis is online here today representing them. I also have Sarah from our office. She's an environmental planner with our team. So we're working on several things in parallel, kind of building upon the energy that was started with the summit. And part of that is building a more robust database, kind of building upon the efforts that OKI started with the digital guide. and also building on the efforts of the Lewis and Clark Trail, the Corps of Engineers database, and a lot of other national, regional, and local database assets. And so what we see is that there's this braided network emerging. And so it's lines, it's dots, it's parcels, all merging together to tell this incredibly powerful story of the braided trail network with the Ohio River as its spine. And we need everyone's help to add to this database. And Madison, you have a great start to it. This is just a composite of what we have in the OKI digital guide so far, and you saw some other images from that in Andrea's presentation. But we need help adding to this database from you. And looking at Visit Madison's website, as Jack mentioned, you already have the bike trails, bike loops mapped. Your cultural assets map was amazing. And the walking tours that you're talking about, those are exactly the types of information that we need in digital form from every community along the river and every county. And so we're excited to start the conversation with Madison. You're the first that we're really doing this call for information. And we're hoping that we can get it in digital form from you. So you may have to go talk to your city engineer or to your county PVA or other resources that you have locally to help us get these things. But basically, we need them as points, lines, and polygons. So a point might be a historic marker. A line might be a walking trail or bike trail loop. A polygon might be a parcel of land. It could be a park or a historic site or something like that. But we need to get those either in GIS or in AutoCAD or as coordinates or addresses in Excel file format. And again, we hope to make a broader call for information to everyone up and down the river, probably in late February, early March, as part of an update to all the river communities. But we thought we'd take advantage of this opportunity with Madison to go ahead and have this conversation with you and maybe take our call for information for a test drive. So we're also seeking any feedback or input that you might provide on what could make this easier for you to give us information.
And I will also add that, maybe you aren't the person who has the .dwg file, or you don't even know what that is, like me, but you might know the person in your community who would have such information, and that would be really helpful and get us that much further to getting this information.
Yeah, it's so important to go beyond, this wonderful conversation and interaction that we're having, but actually start to add depth and breadth to the database. And the only way to do that is to make it digital. And so incredible amounts of information are being formulated, and again, building on some great work that NPS and OKI had already started. So as we do that, the braid comes alive, we all get better connected, and we can really begin to see these connections by bike, by car, by foot, and by water. And so we're hoping to really report back on how this braided trail is coming together. Very excited.
So thank you, Chris. These are just some of the pieces that they're looking for that are on the screen right now. So if you can think of somebody that would have this information, whether it's you or someone else, please jot it down right now or put it in the chat or make a note to yourself to make a connection with that person to help to get us that information.
And again, just that cultural assets map, those bike loops, and your walking tours would be an amazing place to start.
Okay, thank you, Chris, and thank you for all the work that you all are doing to build out the Ohio River Recreation Trail. We have just a couple more questions, and Russ is going to go through these pretty quickly. And for this, you'll utilize the chat.
Yes, thank you, Andrea. Please take a few moments here to use the chat to identify what a perfect day in your town would include. Where would you take a guess? What does that perfect day look like? Just a few thoughts, a quick story helps us better understand your community. And another key piece of information that we're trying to gather from you folks in the chat box is who else should know about this Rivertown review and could contribute to the information that we're seeking that you may be aware of that was not online today. We'd like to be able to get their input if it's possible. And then who else would want to know about this review and could contribute those ideas and enthusiasm to help further this effort. And obviously we want to be here for any questions you have. But please take a few minutes to just, jot down in the chat box what a perfect day in your town might be, who else we should be reaching out to that hasn't been involved so far to get their input and be able to contribute to this effort. And we will be online here in a minute or two to answer any questions you have before we close out.
Right. And so for that perfect day in your town, we usually assign that as homework afterwards. And we're really trying to capture some of that information now. So if you don't want to write a long in-depth story, at least put down a couple things that you would really like to share with people that you bring to town, visitors. And as far as the other contacts, we think that it's valuable that there are some people who should know about this, thinking maybe elected officials or business people, community leaders who have decision-making authority, and also who would want to know. So there's the should and the would want to know. People who are enthusiastic about the future of Madison. And then any questions that you have. I know that we packed a lot of information and questions into a relatively short amount of time. Usually we would want to make this an all-day workshop. But thankfully, with technology, we can at least break it down to 2 hours plus. Good. I'm glad to see people entering some things in the chat. Again, these are things that you can continue to think on as well, but we really wanted to capture some things right now. For your information, we will be emailing you a follow-up letter to give you the results, some of the preliminary results to the SWOT analysis, to the brainstorming list. And if there's anything you want to contribute to those, you're going to walk away from this meeting, you're going to be driving home, you're going, oh, I should have thought of that. That would be a really good thing to include in the future plans, or an opportunity, or why didn't I think of that? So you will have more opportunities to contribute information for either the SWOT or the brainstorming. You will also have further opportunities to tell us if you want to write that whole story about what a perfect day in your community would look like, then have at it, take your time, and then send that to us. Other contacts will also be asking for in that follow-up email. And we will send out a checklist of the kind of data information that human nature is looking for, and give you an opportunity to send that information or those contacts. We're also going to encourage you to check out the 2 websites, at least the 2 websites, the Ohio River Recreation Trail and all of the information that is on there, including there's at least 9 Rivertown Review reports already out there, so you can see what your neighbors up and down the river have already done with this process. And the digital guide, we invite you to look at that, check it out. And then also the Lewis and Clark Trail National Park Service site and the Experience website, which is like the tourism side of that. You will see where you fit into this bigger picture. And that's very important. And next we will be preparing a summary after we send out that information and get some more back. We'll be preparing a summary of the findings, some recommendations, and a very valuable list of resources for your community to use moving forward. We provide all of that in a final report to your Rivertown. And then we will be doing a summary of all the Rivertown reviews, and it's our hope that we continue with that effort to have an annual river summit of the ORRT that all the communities along the river can get together and learn from their challenges and their successes and seeing a path forward for the ORRT. I've included our email addresses on there, and they will be on the email that we send out as well. And I'd like to open it up if there's any questions.
Just a comment from me, Andrew. I want to thank Austin for pulling together such a great group today.
Yes.
This has been phenomenal conversation, great notes in the chat. We really appreciate everybody's participation.
Yeah, thank you all so much for doing this and for gathering the plans from our Parks Department and for helping with the follow-ups and just everything you all have done so far. So I'm really excited to see all this information and to share it, like I said. And I think the really awesome thing is a lot of people that are a part of this call are not just involved in one thing or represent one organization or group or activity. They are involved in a lot of things. So that tells me there's a lot of movers and shakers. So I'm hoping that once we have this final review, a lot of these people will take it and run with it. And even if it turns into one really great idea, it could stem some really great other ones in the future. So thank you all for being here and doing this and helping to kick this off.
And Austin, imagine, can you guys hear? Yeah, Austin, imagine if after you get the report, you and a couple of other folks on the call who provided leadership could make a presentation perhaps to the city council saying that we went through this process and here are some of the ideas that, first of all, here's the assets that, gosh, other people from out of town really brought to our attention that we weren't really thinking much about, that they think are really, really valuable. And that's making us think we should promote them more. But secondly, here are some of these recommendations that came out of us about our own community, about things we can do here locally. So helping bring them into the discussion and getting them on board to be involved in the next steps.
Yeah.
Another thought, this is David Wicks, but another thought, if people like Zoom meetings, tomorrow we're doing the exact same thing with Maysville. And then on Thursday, we're doing Portsmouth. And so it's sort of interesting having three of our major river towns having these community discussions this week. So if you want to sort of explore what two other communities are doing about the same size as Madison, let us know and we'll send you the Zoom link and you can spend another 2 hours with us tomorrow.
It just keeps getting better and better. We should be pretty good at this by the time Thursday rolls around. Really, thank you so much. It was great participation. It's so much easier to have robust engagement when there's more people and people who are participating. We've done some of these where we had more team members than we had participants. So this is really good and it's been very beneficial. Hopefully it got some wheels turning and you thinking about how your community fits into the bigger picture, the Ohio River, the recreation, the future, ORRT, all of those things. We just feel like there's so much here that offers great possibilities. And we're really glad that you participated so wholeheartedly as well.